As we are about to start our study today, as always, we start with our message from the book Opening Doors Within by Allan Kardec. Let your eye be single and see yourself whole, perfect, and made in mine image and likeness. Never belittle yourself or think the worst of yourself. Raise your thinking and be very positive about yourself. If you have made mistakes, learn to forgive yourself and then move forward and upward. I have no need for you to scold yourself and to go about full of self-concern and self-pity. Do you not realize that when you do so, you shut yourself off from me and I cannot use you? Keep open. Learn from your mistakes. Forget the self completely in love and service to your fellow human beings. As soon as you start thinking of others, the self is forgotten. Service is a great healer, a great renewer of balance and stability. So find out what your very best is, what you are good at, and when you know what it is, then go ahead and give it with your whole heart. Keep moving forward, never backward. And in that way, we start our studies with our prayer. As immortal beings as we all are, ourselves and all of those in spirit who are here with us, those who may be following us, those who have been brought by the enlightened spirits, those who may feel attracted by the objective of this study, of this meeting, brothers and sisters in humanity, as we all are, children of God, beings essentially of peace, of goodness and love. As we are already in this ambient, prepared by those who anticipated us, in a loving way care about each one of us here. And in that way, we start opening our hearts and minds and expressing our gratitude towards God, the creator of everything and everyone in the universe, for his infinite love and mercy towards each creature in the universe. Our gratitude towards our Master Jesus, our brother, guide, and friend, who is constantly loving us and inviting us to look upwards, to carry on walking in the pathway of light. Our gratitude towards the spiritual benefactors who care and love us too, who are with us, inspiring us and helping us to strengthen us from within, to awake from within the potentials of our souls, as spirits as we all are, and learners of the laws of the universe as we all are, gathering together, united with the proposal of learning and study a bit more in a humble way, connected with the superior forces which guides us all, and directly or indirectly unites us all. We start our study today. So be it. And in that way, we are about to continue our study from our previous studies, welcoming every one of us here as we are taking the opportunity for us to study a bit more about the Spirit's book, which brings the studies of the enlightened spirits towards humanity, helping us to understand the natural laws. We are within the chapter Hopes and Consolations, and the subtitle is The Nature of Future Joys and Sorrows. This subtitle refers to us as immortal beings, that we carry on after this existence, that we carry on study, that we carry on learning. And in that way, we also learn that joy and sorrow is a state of mind according to how we are using our free will. If we use it according to the natural laws, God's laws, the laws of love, then we are creating and develop joys in this existence and also in the previous ones. But if we, for any reason, choose to go against the natural laws in using our free will in an irresponsible way, then we may be facing in this existence or in other existences sorrows, which means new experiences that we will be attracting, that will be a bit more challenging for us to carry on awakening and growing spiritually. In that way, we carry on to the question 976 today. Andrea, would you like to read the question for us, please?
Is the sign of suffering, spirits, a cause of affliction for the good ones? And if so, does it disturb their happiness?
Okay, let's reflect about the question. Let's see how we understand this question. Is the sight of suffering spirits a cause of affliction for the good ones? And if so, does it disturb their happiness? So how do we understand this question? First, we are invited to think about the suffering spirits and the good ones. And that reminds us of the scale of evolution. Suffering spirits are all of those who are learning to, let's say, go back to the right pathway, learning. The good spirits are those who already are more advanced in the scale of evolution because they choose to develop the goodness from within in relation to discerned experiences. So the question is referring, if the suffering spirits cause afflictions to the good ones and disturb their happiness. It's almost like if you were to think about, well, do the good spirits who are more advanced than the suffering spirits suffer when the inferior spirits are suffering? Is that a cause of affliction to them? Is that the suffering spirits' experiences interfering in the happiness of the good ones? You think no. Let's see what we learn here by the enlightened spirits when they say, it is not an affliction because they know that such evil will end. They help the others in their spiritual growth by lending them a helping hand. That is their occupation and a joy when they succeed. So, what do we understand by that? First, we learn that it is not an affliction, because the good ones who are more evolved in the scale of evolution, they do understand that those who are behind, those who are struggling, those who are suffering, we could say us, including in these experiences, they know that those experiences will end one day. When we reflect, because they know that such evil will end, we understand they know that such struggles, that such challenges, that such hardships, they will end, because the experiences are transitory in our pathway of evolution. And they aim not to cause suffering, they aim for us to learn through them. So as more as we understand the natural laws, less we feel affected by those who are suffering, because we understand they are our brothers and sisters in humanity, and they are learning. They are learning. And also understanding that God never punishes anyone. God gives new opportunities to learn. They help the others in their spiritual growth by lending them a helping hand. So again, instead of complaining about them, instead of feeling afflicted by their sufferings, they who learned more, who overcame their own sufferings already, they are more prepared they have more love within to hand a helpful hand to those who still need it. So they will not be affected. As more as we grow spiritually, therefore psychologically, emotionally, more goodness we develop within, less we suffer with others who are suffering. Stronger we are in helping them without being affected. That is their occupation and a joy when they succeed. That is important. I like that part.
Yeah.
Why?
Joy when they succeed. If you know success, not happy.
So,
no result or
so that is their occupation. That is a beautiful teaching for us, because as more as we dematerialize ourselves through the spiritualization process, and that is a learning process that every mind, every spirit goes through, our occupation will be much more focused in helping other people to progress and to evolve. We will be less caring about the materialistic things. Our intentions will be more, and that brings joy for them when the other succeeds, but they will not suffer if the other does not succeed, because they understand that the other spirit also have the free will and can make different choices, isn't it? That also helps us when we are in the flesh as we are now, when we help someone. How do we feel if they don't improve? Do we feel disappointed? Do we feel angry? Or do we feel compassionate towards them? Or do we feel joyful simply because we can help? Even if in that moment the other may not receive the help. Because the most important things for us is in our journey of evolution, where we are building our future joys and sorrows, is constant to be in a position of helping, even if the other doesn't want to be helped, but doing what we can do and help those who are willing to be helped. Is that clear? Okay. So we move on to the next question, which is the 976A, which is a very long question actually. And it says, this is understandable for spirits who are unknown or indifferent to them, but doesn't the sight of the sorrows and sufferings of those who were dear to them on earth disturb their happiness? How do we understand this question now? This is understandable for spirits who are unknown or indifferent to them. So there are two aspects in the question. One is, if I help someone who I don't know, is not part of my dear ones, my family circle or my friend circle, and I help, is that one experience. But will I also have the same experience when it refers to dear ones to me, let's say family members? Because they say, but doesn't the sight of the sorrows and sufferings of those who were dear to them on earth disturb their happiness? So helping Allan Kardec through this question is helping us to reflect, is there a different emotional response when we help people that we don't know, or the ones that we do know are part of family? Is there a difference of our emotional response? It's interesting, the question, isn't it? Because it's helping us also to reflect where we are, because we are in the flesh now. And then the enlightened spirits say, if they did not see your sufferings, it would mean they are estranged from you after death. How do we understand that phrase? If they did not see your sufferings, it would mean they are estranged from you after death. Estranged means not known. Would that be? Religion tells you that souls continue to see you, but that they regard your affections from another point of view. They know that your sufferings will aid your advancement in your if you bear them with resignation. How do we understand that now? Religion, we understand that religiosity, which englobes all the different religions on earth, tells, especially Spiritism, tells you that souls continue to see, but that they regard your afflictions from another point of view. So as we know that we don't die when our physical death approaches, we continue, we are alive, we are immortal, but we will perceive the afflictions in a different viewpoint. Is that making sense? Perhaps I may be close to someone and see it from the physical level, and I may suffer, and I may be disturbed, and I may be stressful because, oh my God, my father, my mother, my child, or whoever is suffering. And then when I free myself from the physical body as a mortal being, and then see the same experience on a broader perspective, because I can better see the causes of that experience, I may have different references. Is that making sense? Because we do understand that no one of us suffers unnecessary. And suffering from the spiritual perspective is awakening the soul towards the real values in life. It's a healing process, it's a growing process, it's a strengthening process. It's not something negative as we see from the physical, from the materialistic viewpoint. And then they say, they know that your sufferings will aid your advancement if you bear them with resignation. So what comes to our mind with that bit? Do we all evolve merely because we suffer? Yes or no? Do we all progress, evolve merely because we're suffering, because we go through suffering experiences? No. Why not? Because I can go through in a whole existence through sufferings, but I may not have developed, neither be willing to develop resignation. So that I may be complaining all the time about my suffering. I may be in a rebellious state of mind through my pride and selfishness. I may be not accepting that experiences that I'm already living. Therefore, once I free myself from the physical body, I haven't learned to that. But if we develop resignation, which is a virtue, which is a potential of the soul that suits our hearts, as learners are learning through the experience, then we learn and we will also suit the emotional response in relation to sufferings, because our understanding in relation to the experience broadens. Such spirits are more afflicted by the lack of courage that holds you back than by the sufferings per se, which are only temporary. So what comes to our minds with the last phrase? When the spirits say, such spirits are more afflicted by the lack of courage than by the suffering per se. So they are distinguishing the reasons, the causes, isn't it? They are saying that actually this level, the suffering spirits suffer more, are more afflicted to the lack of courage. So what do we understand by the lack of courage?
It's not very clear for me.
It's not very clear to you. The lack of courage, would we say, because previously they said the lack of resignation, and the lack of resignation also causes affliction, and the lack of courage means the lack of trust in God. I may also be still carrying within the aspects of the control from the ego level, such as I don't want to be going through these experiences. I'm lacking. Courage means I'm lacking on the heart level to accept that experience as a learning process and cooperate in the healing process that happens through the sufferings. So when I'm lacking courage, means that I'm exceeded in pride or selfishness. And as more as I work my humbleness, and then I encourage myself as a mortal being, child of God, who is constantly learning, who is loved by God, I accept the experience and I grow through the experience. And in that way, I fortify myself from the heart level onwards. There are less resistance on the emotional dimension. Less resistances on the emotional dimension means less sufferings as a learner. Is that making sense? Is that clear now? Yeah. And also what they say here, which are only temporary. Again, constantly reminding ourselves when we are reflecting about hopes and consolations and the nature of future joys and sorrows, understanding when we reflect about suffering experiences or suffering experience, is important for us to learn for ourselves and in relation to others that the experiences are temporary. Sooner or later, they will end. And we may immediately ask, when, please? We know that the experiences will end when we learn what we need to learn through the experiences. When we promote ourselves, yeah? Then we carry on question 977. Continue our reflections in relation to the nature of future joys and sorrows. Since the spirits cannot hide their thoughts from one another, and since all the acts of their lives are known, doesn't it follow that those who are guilty continually see their victims as being present? How do we understand this question? There are different aspects in the question, isn't it? When Allan Kardec raised this question, the first part of the question, since the spirits cannot hide their thoughts from one another, my question would be, why not? Let's imagine that I never heard of it. Why can spirits not hide the thoughts from one another? Can we hide our thoughts from one another as incarnates? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Always?
Spirits cannot.
Can we, as incarnated spirits, always hide our thoughts from one another? You said yes.
Yeah.
Always?
It depends.
Depends on what? It depends on the level of evolution. As more spirits are evolved, depending on the mediumistic faculties that people have, they can perceive. We may be saying one thing, but other people may be reading our thoughts, because thinking or thoughts is a thinking process, and once we think, we already are communicating within the fluid, the cosmic fluid, and those who have access can read it. Those who are more evolved, they can read it. But yes, the majority of us incarnate, we even don't know ourselves. Imagine that we can perceive others. And since all the acts of their lives are known, doesn't it follow that those who are guilty continue to see their victims as being present? So now we are reflecting in the spiritual world. Is that question making sense? Since the spirits cannot hide their thoughts from one another in the spiritual world because we are free of the physical body. For us incarnates, we still can cover ourselves through the physical body. Yeah. So in the spiritual world, not so. Our thoughts are open. And since the acts of their lives are known, because we cannot hide ourselves anymore in the physical body, because we have the spiritual body, which is the perispirit, and that is everything is clear there, doesn't it follow that those who are guilty continue to see their victims as being present? Meaning, so if I cannot hide my thoughts once I free myself from the physical body, because I still have the spiritual body in the spiritual world, and my acts are recorded in the perispirit, the spiritual body, and now that I'm free there, my acts are there, my thoughts are free and perceived by others, will I not feel guilty in a continuous way to see my victims present around me? Is that making sense? If we do, they talk about victims. When they say, Allan Kardec say, guilty continually see their victims as being present, we understand with those suffering spirits who did wrong. Because we will not see the victims if we do good. Yeah? So let's see what the enlightened is. Interesting. The question is extremely long, but the answer is very short. And they say, common sense tells you that it cannot be otherwise. So how do we understand the answer, which is very, very short? What is the answer of the enlightened beings telling us in this stage of our evolution? Common sense tells you that it cannot be otherwise. What do they mean by that? What do we read between lines here? As we are learning to think for ourselves, are learning to understand deeper and deeper as we go along with the studies, would we be right when we read between lines saying that common sense tells you that that it cannot be otherwise? because we read between lines the cause and effect. If I acted in a wrong way that I cause sufferings to others, of course, I cannot hide my thoughts once I'm freed from a physical body. Mine acts are recorded on the perispirit, and the spirits that I harmed may be around me because I will be attracted to them through the way of how I behaved. Anything to add here? No? Then we carry on the 977A and says, is this revealing of all its reprehensible acts and the perpetual sight of its victim a punishment for the guilty spirits? If we were to reframe the words according to our own understanding, which could also help others to understand, what is the question about? How do we understand it today? So, could we say, showing the wrong acts that the spirit did and now is visible to the victims once we awaken the spiritual, is there a punishment for the guilty spirit? So would that be a punishment if I did wrong, I committed crimes, I hated, I was dishonest, or whatever, I betrayed, or whatever it is. So now that everything is visible, everything is free, and also the victim is there, is that a punishment for me, for the guilty spirits? Let's see what we understand. Punishment is important for us to understand. Within Spiritism, there is not such a thing as punishment. Those words were used at a time where we now understand in a different way. Which other word could we use today instead of punishment?
To learn.
To learn. Is that, let's say, an affliction? Because while I committed wrong here, I may not be conscious of that, the other may know what I did. But if I free myself from the physical body, now the other knows and sees me and is around me. How would I feel? Probably guilty. I could feel guilty that I did that. I could feel shameful. I could feel afflicted. And yet everything will invite for us to grow. And that enlightened spirits say, more than you may think, but it only lasts until it has expiated its wrongdoing, either as a spirit or as an individual in a new corporeal existence. So what do we learn by this response from the spirits? Can I do, if you bring it back to us, can I do wrong and carry on doing wrong and not have any consequences in myself? No? Why not?
No consequence.
Yeah, I mean, if I carry on doing wrong, let's say hating, committing crime, will I have any consequence of that?
Yeah.
Can I carry on doing without consequence?
Yeah, but all the law is inside.
So I can carry on with consequences because of the law of cause and effect. Yeah? More than you may think, but it only lasts until it is expiated. So here comes in the hopes and consolations. We still need to repair what we did wrong as a learning process, as a growing process. But this, let's say, feeling guilty or feeling strange within because now I'm seeing what I did or whatever, it will last up to the point that we expiate the wrongdoing. What does it mean? Up to the point that we choose to forgive ourselves, to forgive the other, and put efforts into taking initiative to do the experience in a different way. If we did wrong, choose now to do good. If we hate, choose to love now. And in that way, we are redoing. That can be done partially in the spiritual world and partially through a new corporeal existence, through the law of reincarnation. Because we are always coming back to a new physical body in terms of learning a bit more, to advance our learning as immortal being. Anyone has anything to add? Is that clear to us? So we would say, if we bring it back to us, as we still are incarnated, is with great wisdom, if we would choose always in the best way to condition ourselves in doing good, Because as more good we do, we in the future, joys are awaiting us. Yes? And the future could be the next day, the next week, the next month, or the next existences. So even if others don't comprehend our willingness of doing good, if they are referring to the goodness of everyone, then carry on doing, because sooner or later we will receive the feedback of those correct actions. Yes? And we won't forget that all the training, the exercise of doing good means that we are expanding from within our ability of the goodness that we bring already within. Okay? We are overcoming our own limitations. And if we still carry on the question 977.8, we still have a part to reflect here from the Enlightened Spirits. Carry on the next paragraph. Would you be kind and read for us, please?
We find ourselves in the world of spirits. When time past will be uncovered, the good and the evil we have done will also be known. Those who have done evil will try in vain to avoid the sight of the victims, and their inevitable presence will be an incessant punishment and regrets for them until they have expiated their wrongs. Moral individuals, on the contrary, will only encounter friendly and benevolent eyes everywhere.
Okay. So what do we learn through this paragraph now? Read what you saw, yes. Summarizing would be. Yeah. And what can we still do while we are in the flesh, knowing that that is the way that will later on be the reality for us? Now we are in the stage of sowing, isn't it? As incarnates. And later on, as we are studying here, we will be ripening. So what can we do in our state where we are? Can we still sow goodness? No? Yes? What are we here? To do what? To grow spiritually, we said, yes? And how do we grow spiritually? Hating? No. Loving. Doing good? Yes. For whom? Everyone. Those who are around us, the people who are around our existences. Could be our family members, could be friends, could be people in a workplace, could be people that we walk around the street, we never know. But do good to all our limits. Learn to forgive, which is still very challenging for a majority of people on earth, because forgiveness is really good for us, because we free ourselves from pride, from selfishness, from vanity, which are those aspects that block our evolution. Also learning, as I said, forgive, to accept other people's limitations, which is part of self-love, and therefore also learning to love each other. When someone hurts us, or let's say, when someone projects their own shortcomings towards us, let's consider, understanding, as we saw previously already, that we are all learning, that we also have our own shortcomings, and we bring within resources that we can accept, we can try, we can learn to accept that person. And in that way, again, we are expanding our superior faculties, those who bring the inner peace and the goodness. And later on, if that person cannot see our intentions now, but later on, they will see where we really are. We, in this stage where we are, sometimes we look approval from other people, which is not correct. Because if we don't receive, we may feel disappointed. We should always seek approval from God. As long as we behave internally and externally according to God's will, we are always in the right pathway. And if people now don't approve us, which is not relevant, there are plenty of friends in the spiritual world who are with us, who are all friends in deeper level, they are approving our behavior. And then at the end they say, moral individuals, on the contrary, will only encounter friendly and benevolent eyes everywhere. How do we develop that? What do we understand about moral individuals? Are we all moral individuals? Good question.
I think it's not developed yet, not as moral yet, but developing towards moral.
So what do we understand about moral or moral individuals? Let's imagine those who are studying with us who never heard it. How could we explain?
I believe it's the ones that have within them already the laws of God and they follow them. It's inner to them to live the virtues, and therefore they don't worry about others or about what is happening around because they had came to an understanding that everything will be for good and we will come to terms. It doesn't matter where we are or how we are at the moment. They already came to the understanding that there is no rush, there is no need to make things right, let's say in this way. Because for us, yes, like for me, I still have the urge to do things now, to do things that I'm not capable yet. And I think this is due to my immorality, because I'm still more on the vices than on the virtues. So I have the rush need, not just for me, but for others around me. And therefore the worry of how things are and how everyone is doing, which I think the moral individuals, they don't have this worry anymore.
I think moral individuals, following your reflections, means those spirits through the different existences, using their free will, train themselves within the natural laws of life, and therefore they developed the ethical values within. The ethical values are the values that are correct in the past, in the present, in the future, and are correct in relation to everyone, despite of the different cultures, the different religions, the different spirituality paths. They are the same values of goodness for everyone. So we are talking about ethics. Yes, it's not I have one reference because of my family, and I have different reference of people of the other members of the other family. Or I have one reference in my mind in relation to my spiritual pathway, and I see others in a different way. So moral individuals are ethical individuals who already see more or less everyone as brothers and sisters, and the major aim within is to do good and is to help towards the good of everyone. Is that making sense? Therefore, they say you only encounter friendly and benevolent eyes everywhere. Because everywhere where they go and move, their eyes are helping eyes. And they don't ask where you are coming from, which culture are you coming from, which religion are you coming from. That will be left behind. Yeah? Okay. And we are here to train ourselves in that way, isn't it? In this lab called Earth. Now we carry on another paragraph here. Tamara, would you like to read it for us?
For bad persons, there is no greater torment on earth than the presence of the victims, and that is why the waves, they always avoid them. What will become of them when devised of the illusion of the passions? They comprehend the evil they have done, see the most secret actions revealed, find the hypocrisy unmasked, and perceive that they cannot hide from the victim's sight. To the same extent that the soul of the wicked feels shame, regret, and remorse, that of the righteous enjoys perfect peace.
Okay. So what do we learn now as learners as we all are of nature and future joys and sorrows? What do we learn through this paragraph? Our learning, of course, it changes as we evolve, but here and now in the present. What is the major point for us here?
I think it's to confront, to see the bad that we have done in the past.
If you take the first phrase, it's interesting. Let's read it again. For bad persons, there is no greater torment on earth than the presence of their victims, and that is why they always avoid them. Is that still happening on us? Is it easy for us when we do bad, even on the back of somebody else? Is it easy when we are in the presence of someone? Can we see the person? Can we look in the eyes? Are we feeling at ease within? No. We feel extremely uncomfortable. That is what they say here. And that will also happen when we free ourselves from the physical body, because we still can hide ourselves here in the physical world, through the physical body. I can run away from the person. I can choose not to be with the person. But in the spiritual world later on, I'm invited to face that, and you'll be extremely uncomfortable on the feeling level. Yes? You were about to say something?
Yeah, I was about to say that I believe our greatest torment is the bad we do. It doesn't matter for who or how we do, because I understand now that whatever we do, we believe in we're doing the best. We're doing for some good. It's an illusion, as they say later. Lost in our illusion, we do something that harms someone and harms more ourselves.
Precisely.
Because as we are here in the physical body, we may hide, we may elude the person that we like them, that we're doing good, and it goes unseen. But when we have to face it, we face it within ourselves. Before I used to think it's God who's going to ask me something, or the person itself. But now I understand that the person may not never know that I've done bad to them. But the conscience that I know that I know I did that, whenever I see that happening or something similar, I think that will come to me. And that is where, I cannot see the person or I cannot see the situation, because it will always bring to me what I have done. And until I don't come with terms with myself on what I did wrong and redo it to do good enough to forgive myself, then I don't face myself.
Yes, therefore I find difficult to face others or situations. So what do we need to learn, incarnates or disincarnates, in relation to learn to face ourselves, in relation to redo the experiences that are not adequate for our evolution? What do we need to learn?
I think love is what is the most difficult thing for us. Pure love in the way that Jesus Christ loved us, in the way that God loved us. Because what I still understand of love is some way of exchanging something. I can't foresee this real love yet, because still I have to do so much within myself that the hardest is to love me how I am. So on the bad I do, I can't see any love. Even if, like we studied previously, when we do things here and then we leave the body, we may understand in a whole complex how the situation was, and we may understand it with a different eyes in a different way. But still now, when I disincarnate now, I will still have my morality to develop. So I will still see things in a very small way. So the love for me is still this exchange way of loving.
Sounds like commercializing, isn't it? As we learn throughout in a selfish way, when we look our own history, where we are coming from, very selfish. So I give that to you if you give that to me. Otherwise, yeah. And now we are invited to go beyond that. Just give without receiving.
We still on the way that I want to do the good now because I did the bad before. I haven't got to that conscious that I want to do good and that's it.
For the reason of doing good.
For the reason of doing good, for being good, for being able to love.
Yes.
Not because I haven't loved before to, like, let's say, to cover up what I have done bad, but just for loving.
But still, good. Even if you are or we are in this stage that we may be evolving, and now I did bad in the past and I was ignorant, I couldn't even perceive that, and then journey carries on and I become more aware, oh my God, okay, now understanding better, let's really do my past in the present. All the wrong that I did, I correct in doing good in the present. And if the focus is in doing good, even if I know that it's redoing it, it still is positive because it's already advancement in relation to conquering self-love. But one thing when you mentioned, which is important for us to understand, when we free ourselves from the body, do we immediately know everything what we did? No. We understand that some spirits, yes. But some spirits take century and century and century that they are out of the physical body in the spiritual world, and they still live as they were on earth with the same belief system, because the mind becomes ingrained with those experiences and fixated on it. So it's not only I free myself from the physical body, then everything will be visible. It depends on how much we are open to see, to perceive, because it's not just seeing what we did. I learned that on Saturday through the studies of André Luiz's book, where we are studying a chapter, and they were awakening someone who committed a crime, and he didn't know, he knew what he did, and he got married, and the wife never thought about, and it wasn't the same existence. And later on, things started to disturb, and because even if we don't show to others, but we know what we did. And he started to disturb himself and came to a point that he couldn't handle anymore, and he killed himself. And no one understood why. He was such a good guy. He was a family father. He has 2 children, has a job. What happened? Must be someone who killed him. It was a mystery. And then André Luiz and Alexandre, they went on and fighting out. And then they discovered later on, when André Luiz is like, why? Ask him, what happened? We need to know. And Alexandre, please, wait. It's not the time now.
Yeah.
We ask him directly, but not now, later on. So we need to wait up there. And then Alexandre, which is the benefactor who knows more than André Luiz, was teaching to him and to us too. André, it's not just waking him up that he is immortal, that he still is alive. It's also through waking him up, waking him towards the pain that he will be feeling. So that is the wisdom that the higher beings can perceive the experiences on a deeper level. Not just wake up, you are alive. No. Waking up towards the reality of the continuation of existence means also on that level, that experience, waking him up towards the pain that he will be feeling, because he will be connecting with what he caused to himself.
I see in these moments I was watching the study, and I felt like, how big is the misericordia of God towards us? Because until we're not capable to bear the pain, we may still in ignorance of what we're doing and how we're doing wrong, because we're not even capable of doing any change or doing anything. So it waits for us to be more prepared to be able to bear the pain, to then do the changes. As he said from Luis, we can wake him up and show him what is now, but will he be able to bear the pain? We have to think of that.
Precisely, because then,
and as immoral as we still are, we believe that, I'm going to show them, or I'm going to
what he did.
Tell this person he's doing this in the wrong way.
The superior beings
we can even look at ourselves, but we want to show the others what they're doing wrong and how they're doing wrong and how they can do right. And we think we know.
Which is not, because we learn through the spirits that they do the opposite usually. And they just advance when they know that now is the right time. That is inner wisdom that we all will develop in developing our rational and emotional intelligence, the inner wisdom. Are we okay here, or do you have anything else to say? No? Then now we carry on the question 978. Denise, would you like to read it for us, please?
Does the memory of the wrongs committed by a soul, while still imperfect, disturb its happiness even after it has purified itself?
If we were to explore the question and reframe it according to our own words, which also helps other spirits who are studying with us to understand, how would we say it?
I think it's asking, the wrong I do, the pain I bear for the bad I do, will it disturb me even when I reach perfection?
Okay. Let's see what we learn by the Enlightened Spirits. They say, no, because it has atoned for its wrongs and has come forth victoriously, bless you, from the trials to which it had submitted itself for that very purpose. So how do we understand now the clarifications, the teachings of the Enlightened Spirits?
How great is the process
of progress.
That's what comes from in the progress.
Yeah.
Yes. And to understand, to see now that God loves me for what I am, not for what
I do.
I'm at the moment or what I do, but for what He knows I'll become. Because I can't foresee that. It's still, or for the ones that are around me, or when we see bad happening in earth, people doing wrong, and then we judge them and we forget they are also our brothers and sisters.
Mhm.
And we forget that God loves them the same way He loves us, and that we doing the same process. We all in the same pathway. We walk. We will all of us will get there,
Yes.
and doesn't matter how long or where we are at the moment. God loves us, and He knows we are capable.
Mhm.
He gave that to us, and it's just up to us to use that.
Mhm.
So as you said previously, even if I know now that I'm only doing a little bit, that I'm only awakening a bit for the good, the more I do this good, the more I choose this consciously, the more I'm going to be able to do it, and the quicker I will do it more.
Correct. Anything else that comes to you? What else, apart from what Denise said? Here, apart from what you said, are we also here, let's say, invited in a very loving way that we ourselves sometimes may not understand pretty much certain experiences in our lives. But when we see that we came back to redo and to continue, the enlightened spirits sometimes say, well, it's not that much that you need to understand everything, just do good, because later on you will understand certain situations. And the other way, what also comes to me as you said, not to judge ourselves and neither others, because sometimes people are in experiences that we cannot understand. Why is she or he doing that? It doesn't make sense to us, but they may be carry on their evolution pathway, but they asked to redo their journey. Is that making sense?
And for us as well, to think that there is so many things, I can't do it. Still, I know on the rational level, but on the emotional level, I haven't been able to make that change. And then if I lose time punishing myself or allowing situations in my life to drive me towards repeating that instead of choosing consciously not to do it anymore, and how I can stop it. And even if I have to do a plan and go by the clock in that plan, that I know I'm doing this to train myself to do different now, to make this different choice in this way, because that is what I'm not doing yet. Instead of just saying, I'm not capable, I cannot do it, I tried
That
already.
usually those references usually are or defense mechanisms are excuses that we give to us, that we bring from the unconscious level in order not to do what we ought to do. Because we also learn with the benefactor spirit, Joana de Anjos, when she says that when we start on the conscious level to establish goals for ourselves in terms of our evolution, we will also simultaneously be dealing with the me, the old me, who comes up in a very strong way, which are the defense mechanisms. So we don't need to fight. It doesn't help us. It needs to learn to reintegrate those values. Understanding as I can perceive now through self-awareness, I'm not capable. I heard it, stop. And now I refrain and suggest myself, I'm capable. And I explain to myself why. Because I'm a child of God. I'm an immortal being. I bring the divine laws within. I bring innate ability to actualize myself. And in that way of carrying on explaining it to me, I'm suggesting, and in that suggesting process, I'm forming my new belief systems based on the essence of the self.
Someone is purified and act they did, often says that they will not feel the. Does it guarantee they won't do it again?
Not necessary, because we, as learners in this stage, at least where we are, we learn something, and then, let's say, we pass to the experience. But we will be invited again to see if we really ingrained and learned that or not. And quite often we need to go through several times. We may get it right here, and it may fail here. And then I may carry on doing and training, as the methodology of learning is, up to the point I really assured that value within. It is part, it becomes part. But at the beginning, I would say we still are very vulnerable. Is that making sense to us? Because unfortunately, we won't learn just doing it once. Because if that was the way forward, we would be quite high spirits already. Yeah? We need to go through several times so that we impregnate it and it becomes part of us. Is that making sense? But those who are more evolved, they may be more equipped already and may get it right immediately, let's say, because we are learning at different levels, but we still are in a very primitive state. We are emerging in terms of developing our virtues. So I would say in general, with exceptions of course, we have the need to go through several times to strengthen the ethical values, the virtues that we are training. Because even if we are, let's say, very patient, let's say, we are. But when we reflect about the virtue of patience, we still need to expand that throughout many, many existences. Imagine, we can just imagine, even talk about myself, what would mean patience in the celestial world? We don't have the definition because we still are not there. But we are training here in the way that we are. And therefore, as we move on, we will surely expand that superior faculty within.
Isn't patience just accepting the situation?
Not really. Patience is a very active virtue within us.
I
It
don't
is.
mean it passively accepting, actively accepting. Like if you're walking on the old person
Mhm.
and they walk one step every 1 minute, you know, it can feel like you're waiting on it. But patience is not about waiting for something. It's about accepting this is the way it is.
Yes.
Actively accepting.
Yes.
Not just,
No. That would be an immature reference. And the mature would be through the development of patience within, because when we study virtues, we would agree that they are interconnected. Then as more as we mature psychologically and emotionally, therefore all our presence in that moment will be a presence of quality. Is that making sense? Which is different than the immature aspect. Yeah? Okay. Can we move on here then? Let's move on then. Question 978. Claudia needs to read it for us, please. It's 979.
Are the trials it still must undergo in order to complete its purification a heavy concern that disturbs its happiness?
What is this question about now? How do we understand it at present?
I believe it's asking, once we know the trials we have to face still, doesn't that disturb us? Doesn't it make me want to give up?
Okay.
Or doesn't make me feel too sad? I still have to do this. I still have to, like you just said, if I already overcame this, I have to go through the situation again.
So, yes, and we're talking about wrongdoings as we saw through the previous questions. Now I become aware that I did wrong, and now I see my reality as a spirit, and now I know that I need to go back again. Will that bring happiness, or will that disturb my happiness? Could that disturb the happiness of the spirit who did wrong, knows that he did wrong, now knows that needs to go back on the earth in order to redo? Will that impact the happiness of the spirit? Will that disturb?
Shouldn't.
Huh?
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't. Why not?
Well, because if the spirit understands that he done wrong, he needs to go back to do right. Right? So the understanding it is shouldn't feel any bad or
So
any,
should really be blissful.
yes.
Yeah. Some spirits will be blissful, knowing that they did wrong, they understand, they learned. Oh my God, again I did it wrong. I want to have a different possibility. I want to have a new opportunity for me to redo it. That will not disturb. They are happy to go back in the field of work and redo and learn again. But is that equal for everyone? No.
I believe lots of us are still in the position that we doubt ourselves.
Yeah.
And we may fear if we go through the situation again in a different way, we may fail instead of succeeding.
Yes.
Which is what happens to most of us here. And the opportunity now, most of us wasted.
We are wasting. Let's see, as we're coming to the end, what the spirits are teaching us. In the case of the soul that it still remains tainted, yes. That is why it cannot enjoy perfect happiness until it is entirely pure. Nonetheless, for the soul who has already progressed, the thought of the trials is still the thought of the trial it still must undergo has nothing painful about it. Is that making sense? So for us, as you well said, Denise, and we read that in books, or also speak with the spirits who are out of the flesh through mediumistic work, when they sometimes are prepared by the enlightened spirits to come back, and they are very scared when they see what they did and the consequence that that brought to them, that they need to come back now to deal with them. For instance, perhaps I, let's say, misuse my intelligence for such and such. Now I know and I need to come back, and I probably will have a problem in my brain that will impede me to think properly or whatever it is. I come with limitations. And the spirit knows what it will be and may be fearful to face that, considering the society where we are in. And then we are always helped by the good spirits. That is a blessing to go through, because there is no punishment for anyone. The coming back to earth, the school earth, in any condition, whatever is the best for us, for itself, we should learn to be grateful. Even if we find ourselves in limits, the limitations on the physical level is helping us to overcome the psychic limitations that we created for ourselves. Therefore, the love of God is helping us to progress and move forward. Even if someone is studying with us now, who is preparing themselves, let's engage with enlightened beings, ask their helps, and let's also ask to focus on our immortality. Therefore, the stage on earth is a very short time, and let's go through, honor the possibility to learn through. Sooner or later, we are free in the physical body, and we overcame our own psychic limitations.
I think it's, you cannot guarantee whether you feel something or not in a situation, but your attitude towards that, what you feel, is what allows you to freedom.
It is when we speak with those spirits, which we do in mediumistic work, they are very like us. Oh my God, I need to go through that experience. And they are really fearful. The emotions come up because our immaturity of understanding and our level of evolution where we are. But understanding that is not a punishment, understanding that is about learning through the experiences and conquering the ethical values which were lacking in the previous experiences, that helps us to soothe our hearts. Because at the end of the day, all the experiences are about learning. It's the way that we look with them. If we look from the ego state of mind, we have the possibility to be more limited and restrained. But if we look the same experience from the eyes of the self, we feel more encouraged and just go through and develop further self-love and self-acceptance. And in that way, we are coming to the end today. And as always, we finish it, these final moments, with our hearts and minds joined together, with enlightened beings who are here with us, our brothers and sisters who love us, who care about us, who are helping us to change our belief systems, to understand life from a different perspective, from a loving way, that we are all loving beings. Doesn't matter if we did wrong, which we still are doing as learners. The most important is to learn to love ourselves. Wrong only teaches us. There are different ways of doing the same experiences. May we all forgive ourselves for any wrong that we may have done. Embrace ourselves in a loving way. Stand up spiritually and continue to learn. Repeating experiences as many times as needed up to the point that we succeed. Understand that God is love. Understand that we all have friends in spirit who love us profoundly, who are always around us, inspiring us, and carry on in doing good for ourselves and for others, today and always. So be it.